Leafs Talk, JD Bunkis, and the return of Justin Bourne.
I'm
Good
back,
to
baby.
see you, big dog. It's great to have you back on the show. Unfortunately, it's in a loss.
I know.
Yeah.
And I still don't have like a holder like you, so I just get to hold this thing. It's
Hey.
like feel like an old-timey host.
Can I tell you something? We can get you a holder.
Yeah.
This is
simple items.
this is a fundamental you problem. This is a classic Bordy. Like, I bet you the odds of me asking our bosses to get you a mic holder are higher than you asking the bosses for a mic.
I came on with no mic at all, and Luke was like, "Do you have a mic?" And I was like,
"Oh, right,
yes."
Yeah, I guess I'll use the equipment that the company has provided me to do this program and others. I guess I will use it. Yeah, it is good to have you, buddy. Plenty of stuff to get to from this loss. I think that you can kind of summarize this one pretty simply, which is this was just a game where the Leafs could not outscore their mistakes.
Mhm.
They have a offside that takes back a goal. They give up a goal on in a critical juncture, very like old school Leafs at the very end of a period where attention to detail just completely goes out the window, and they decide that the period's over with less than a minute. And then after tying the game, just again, lack of focus, another turnover, another bad break, a bad bounce, and the puck ends up in the back of their net. They lose to Red Wings 4-2.
Yeah, I think when you play the type of game that they're playing these days, which is low event, low offense, and you get a couple of bad breaks, as you mentioned, getting a goal called back, and you make a couple of lazy mistakes, all of a sudden you lose the game. It's like every game this year feels like it's going to be 2-2 at some point. And then it's just like, we'll see if they can get another one. You know, we'll see if Bouchard throws a pizza or Tom Wilson throws a pizza. And if they don't, we'll see if the other team can score. Like, it's just, it doesn't feel inspiring offensively, but they're in every game.
Yeah. Listen, I think that the overall arc of the team is correct. That this is you're probably more optimistic about this style of play heading into the postseason this year than you have been in years past, especially given that you would imagine, just given the talent of the team, that there is going to be a little bit of water finding its level with the offense, right? I don't think that they are going to be one of the worst offenses in the NHL, but right now, I hate how it feels when they go down 3-2 in a hockey game.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, damn, I don't think they're going to get back in this one. Or when a save gets made on a breakaway where Mitch Marner gets his opportunity, right? And it gets stopped and you go,
that was our chance.
Yeah, that's it. That, like, you go, oh, that was it. That was probably the hockey game. And that's a very different feeling with this team.
Yeah, the big thing for me, and this is something that I mentioned to you just in a text, is like, it does feel like they can't string together a bunch of passes. Like, this game was better, for the record. Like, they, long stretch of the game, they looked like the better team. They controlled the puck for a lot of the game, and they hadn't at other times. But it just felt like, some of this disconnect with the puck where it was like, can't make a simple pass on a breakout, can't sort of thread the needle. And it just feels like it has to be the top guys, because the bottom guy's job seems to be don't make a major mistake, right? Like, their whole role right now is don't make a major mistake. So a lot of the game looks like these clips where it's just like, man, it felt like they used to kind of come up more ultimate Frisbee style. You take it, and we'll work our way up the field. I don't see a ton of that right now.
So, yeah, we're rolling a bunch of B-roll of just bad breakouts in this game, right? But I want to ask you, too, how much of that do you think is actually personnel versus strategy? Because they're trying to dump the puck in, right? And so a lot of –
get to this one later.
Yeah, like this just feels like a lot of, hey, chop it out, get it to, like, the neutral zone, and then hopefully we have an opportunity to dump it out rather than collect and not build out the offense. And so I'm sure there are times where – that disconnect is very real, but how much of that do you actually just view as the system versus like personnel problems or strategic problems?
Yeah, I think it's a great question, and the answer is probably a little bit of both, but that's not as sexy. I'll say more personnel than strategy. I went over some Leafs system stuff with Andrew Brewer, who was, Babcock's guy, Team Canada Olympic video guy. And we talked a bit about systems, this team versus Sheldon Keefe's teams. System-wise, they're not that different. They do dump it in a bit more, but they're not that different. It just feels like a lot of the guys they have right now, their job is, again, get it out. Don't be the guy who, turns it over, just chop it out of the zone. And then the other team kind of picks it up in the neutral zone and back they come. So I know that, to your point, this was a strategy plan they wanted to make. They don't want to make the big mistake. They want to stay around in games, and they hope that leads to something in playoffs. There is more from this offense for sure. But right now it's just like, all right, we had Lorentz and Dewar and Kampf and Holmberg and a bunch of guys whose job is just don't make a mistake. And that's not fun to watch sometimes.
So then I think that it's fair, if that is the approach of don't make a mistake, that you're a little bit more critical of especially the better players on the team when they make backbreaking mistakes. And to me, there is no more criminal moment in the hockey game than the second goal for the Detroit Red Wings at the end of a period, which Leafs dominated.
Yeah.
Like the first, I thought that they were showing good signs of life, but the second, the Leafs just completely controlled the play. And I actually was thinking, man, Detroit's got to be thrilled that it's just 1-1 after this period. And then this happens.
Yeah. And I mean, I if there's another clip of this, Matthews' reaction to taking this pass, cool guy off the skate, and then he just keeps skating, no stop and start. Just a little after it hits the skate, it's not like, oh God, that got away from me. It's just like one hand, like, oh well, 30 seconds left, whatever, we'll probably get it back. And then they make a couple of plays and it's in your net, and it's like, it's one thing for me to be like, that's a bad play. You're the captain. You're the captain in a 1-1 game in the final minute on the road. Like, I text some people, I was like, does he party? Like, that looked like me when I used to like play hungover? Like, that was one. That one just was in my boots. What do I do? It's in my boots. Like, come on. Yeah, I hated that play, man.
Yeah, it's a tough look, and especially the body language on the play is terrible.
And like, you guys listen to me, I'm sure, like, defend Matthews to the death on Kipper and Bourne, because it's, I'm fighting an uphill battle at times, but it can't defend that.
I was going to say, even in text privately, what is the number one troll move of McKee and I to you in our group chat?
Is it about Marner?
No, it's Matthews. It's whenever we're like, oh, Matthews, like the record of him when he's not in games, or whenever he goes through a slump, or whenever he makes a mistake, or whenever Marner is brilliant. We love to just kind of tease you with the like, oh, Matthews this, and then it's like you won't even respond.
No,
you usually go.
I do enough of that.
Yeah, ghost protocol, because you don't have the energy to defend the player. But yeah, tonight, that's just a tough one. Like, again, if you're going to say the moments of the game that really cost them, I don't think that there's a worse moment than that one. But you want to go over the game winner for Detroit?
Yeah, we can do that too. I want to ask you, do you think that Matthews moment was tied to the rest of his game? Do you think that looks like how he played, or do you think that was a bad moment?
I think it was a bad moment because I thought that their line had a lot of really good cycling tonight. That they were able, like, one of the problems with the Leafs and this is not even a this year problem, it's a year over year problem, is it feels like their offense is oftentimes one and done. And that it's just like, okay, they got their opportunity, or they held on to it too long and tried to create something too great. They didn't get a puck towards the net, and all of a sudden the puck is out and it feels like they didn't accomplish too much. I thought tonight it felt as though the attack from the first line was layered, that they were able to possess the puck for long periods of their shifts. Marner was creating and doing his, like, I'm playing the game at my pace with his night. I thought Matthews was around it for a lot of the evening. He ends up scoring a goal on the power play, which desperately needed one because they had gone one of their last 11. And I think that this was a story that was starting to spark back up because they tried the 5 forwards. They gave up a bunch of shots against. Savard pulled the plug on it. And since then, it has also not felt dangerous whatsoever. And it felt dangerous again tonight. So I think that Matthews did a lot of good, but ultimately, they don't finish their chances against a goaltender who didn't have a win coming into tonight and who has been god awful. And like McKee went to the Detroit game with some fans who are Red Wings guys. And last night we, went to a Generals game. We're sitting with them. We're talking about what's going to happen tomorrow night. And I thought the Leafs were going to break out of their slump offensively because Husso has been so awful. And these guys who are Red Wings fans, diehards, are like, well, we're not going to win because Husso is one of the worst goalies in the league. And here he was making big saves against them. And just it wasn't a good results, but I thought the process was solid for most of the night.
Yeah, like I get a post game thing from Sport Logic that just has like X amount of categories of stats, and one of them is just puck in the ozone time, like the world's most basic stat. And the Leafs have been on the wrong side of that 8 out of every 10 games, and certainly 8 of the last 10 games. Tonight, puck and OZ time at even strength only was 23-11 for the Leafs, 16 minutes for Detroit. So they're 7 minutes better at even strength.
Yeah.
That's a tough game to take in a straight up regulation loss in.
Well, it's weird because they've recently won a bunch of games that they shouldn't have won, and it felt like the hockey gods went, yeah enough of that.
You owe us a couple. You're in debt.
Like, if you're only going to score 2 goals, you're not going to win 2-1. You're not going to win 3-2 in overtime. You've got to find a way to get that extra one, and they just were not able to get it. And part of it too is, like, again, they're not drawing enough power plays. They're at the bottom of the league yet again this season, so it does exacerbate the problem where you go, okay, it strings over a course of games where you go, all right, they're one of their last 11 now, 2 of their last 12.
Yeah.
But I was thinking when they said that stat tonight, well, how many games is that over? Like,
yeah, 2 of the last 12. Yeah, you're right. So over 8 games or something.
Yeah, it's like it makes it feel as though the problem builds greater than it needs to be because they're just not getting enough opportunities. It's like, who's drawing the penalties too oftentimes? It's like Pontus Holmberg feels like he draws a ton of penalties for this team. Like,
he does. He's first on the team.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So it's like the big guys not drawing enough penalties, I think, is a problem. Nylander drew one tonight, though, but how did he do it? It was awesome. It was a great play where he's going towards the net. He's got Patrick Kane on him. He identifies the matchup, and he just beats him, bully balls him to the middle of the ice, and they get one. But yeah, overall, I think that it's been a mixture of power play has not felt threatening enough. Waves of 5-on-5 have not felt good enough. But tonight, it's again really hard to be uber critical because they were just the better team.
Yeah, and one of the reasons I thought they were the better team, and I think you would agree, is Bobby McMahon being back sure helps, man.
Yep, sure did. Sure did.
Like he's a guy who has pace and size, and when you've been looking at this team going, who's going to do it if it isn't the 4 guys or maybe Matthew Nyes? This is another option for them, and there were moments tonight where he looked fresh, he's fast, and you're reminded that playoffs last year, they didn't have him at all. It's like, you're not sure about Stolarz' health, you're not sure about Wall's health, you never be sure about McMahon's health. Timmins has typically been a guy who you're not sure about, but tonight I thought McMahon looked really good. In particular, what do you have, 4 or 5 shots and just looked fast.
Yeah, 4 or 5 shots and 2 that were great scoring opportunities, right? Where it's the breakaway, but then also one where he's in around the net. You'd love to see him bury one of those.
Would have been nice. Would have been nice.
Would have been nice to get one into the back of the net because, again, it didn't feel as one-liney tonight, right? Or 2 lines tonight. I thought that it did feel like all 3 were having an impact, and even the 4th line had a couple of good shifts, I thought, tonight. So again, like, process versus results, you go, the process was kind of there tonight. Their goaltender actually played well, but you just those critical mistakes that they cost you. By the way, like, okay, so yeah, let's go over the couple of other ones.
Yeah.
Let's look at the final goal. So the Leafs score. They make it 2-2. And yeah, it's the power play goal. It ends up clicking. It's a beautiful play by Marner who feeds it over to Matthews. And it's like, you have often said, and I agree with you, what is the point of the power play? Like, what is the ultimate goal of the power play? Like, that still has not felt established. And there's been times where it's felt like it has been overly funneled to Matthews. Yeah. And then when that happens, where Marner is able to just like create space for himself and find the best shooter on the team for a goal, you go, oh, right. Like, yeah, that's it. They
want to find him for a reason. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But right after, what was it, like 44 seconds? It's just a puck that starts to bounce the other way on Benoit. And I guess, what did you see on this play?
Can we roll it again?
Yeah.
So, anytime you have things starting down there, one thing you want to do is get the D stopped. And I thought that forecheck wasn't awesome, but yeah, Benoit getting just straight up kind of cooked doesn't help. But Tavares in the fadeaway, he knows that he's just got to stick with his guy, right? Like, he's so eager to like, okay, now we get to go on offense. And it's like, you haven't got the puck yet. You can't just skate by Petrie there and kind of carry on. I thought Wall was pretty good all night. I wouldn't be critical of him in any way. How many do you expect the guy to make, right?
No, I'm saying
you were on Timmins a little bit tonight. You feel like he's fading off a bit?
Well, I think that it's always a tough visual when you're the guy sliding past the play and you don't make that play.
Yeah.
Like, if you're going to take yourself out of it there, you kind of want to break up the puck. And so just seeing him behind the net as there's multiple Red Wings getting an opportunity to hack in a rebound, I don't think was great. He took a penalty that I think was like a little bit of a softie.
I thought it was a penalty though. Like, get your stick out of there.
Yeah, I agree. Like, where he was so mad about it. And I'm like, man, time. This is the other thing with the Leafs when we're talking about these like critical mistakes and why they should be criticized for tonight is you're chasing the game. You can't take bad penalties. Yeah. And so if you're Connor Timmins, you're the sixth defenseman on the team, you're not allowed to take that. When you're Mitch Marner and you almost score on a breakaway opportunity.
And you never take penalties?
Exactly. You never take a penalty and you're kind of pissed off that didn't happen. And it's like a little bit of a bad break for you where you get caught cheating a bit. Fine, whatever. You'll live with that. But when it's Connor Timmins, it just frustrates me.
That's extreme tripping. You should have got 4 minutes. That's just it's like you can't. He doesn't even put a body on or anything. Yeah.
But that's it's like just go with the body. Like hit him,
and then the puck will keep moving, and you can have it.
Yeah.
One of my core beliefs defensively is just you need to have so much more faith in your guys, particularly like back pressure guys. And so they end up scoring on that goal where Timmins does the slide. It's not a clean 2-on-1 to me. Like the guy with the puck is under heavy duress from your guys. Don't leave the other guy or don't, just like have some faith that he's going to be hampered enough that between them and the goalie, you're going to get a save there. And that to me, it's like it's trying to do too much in that instance.
Yeah, totally agreed. So yeah, we covered McMahon, we covered the mistakes, we covered the penalties. Let me see here. What else we got? Oh, I do want to just focus a little bit on Wool again, because I do think that he was very good. But this is like the first goal of the game. This is how teams score on the guy. Like if you look at the goals against him again tonight, it's like big screen where Jeff Petrie gets one where it's puck has eyes. And I've gone over this on Leafs Talk a couple of times. That's like, the Clearview analytics for Wool are showing that it's like the majority of his goals come on layered screens where it's like it's multiple players.
Is that right? I didn't know that.
Yes, that are blocking his eyesight from the goal. Like when he's getting an opportunity to get a look at it, he's making those saves. The other two, it's like again on the turnover where he's stretching across and almost trying to make a save. And then the third one is this where it's like he makes a save and it's a broken play where it ends up in the back of the net. Like the guy has just been brilliant for you this year. And even in tonight, it's like you can't put any of this on the goaltender.
Would you have wanted this challenged? Do you think he's
no?
Don't think he comes back?
No, I think that it's like, again, I'm a big time like you can't touch the goalie guy. And I feel like I call these pretty well. Like my hit rate is solid in terms of first reaction. What is this? I think Wool reaching out as he's outside of the blue paint to feel him. It's like, if you call that, then like shut down hockey because you can't be the one to initiate it. Where's the player supposed to stand? You still have to be able to screen these guys. They're so good. It's the most effective way to score. Like, can't have that one called off. I'm actually glad they didn't.
It's not it gets called back. I think it does get called back if he doesn't. He's actively aware of the contact. He's making it. He's not trying to avoid it. He's participating in the contact.
Yeah, exactly. Like he's the one who reaches out first, puts him around. Then it's like, I actually think that if he doesn't do that, he might have a better shot at making the save. Like if there's anything to be critical of him on that play, it's, hey, if you don't feel out with that glove, maybe you're tracking the puck a little bit more instead of looking kind of in your peripherals at where the forward is.
Right. And if the guy does come into the crease and interfere with you, then it's legitimate interference and we can deal with that then, but just trust that he's not going to. And but you're right. I just thought tonight he had a lot of awkward and tough saves and I thought he was really good. Not a word of criticism from on Wall for me tonight. So
nope, totally agree.
Yeah.
And I see people like we got some people apparently in the chat who are talking about what his number would be if he's able to stay healthy. I still think the point of curiosity for me over this next stretch without Stolars is going to be like, how much do you actually play him? Right. Like, these guys have been going in a split. He has not had a heavy workload. You don't really want him to have a heavy workload. Obviously they're going to give Hildeby the back-to-back here tomorrow night, but is there going to be a game, say, I don't think it'll happen next week, but will there be a game during the schedule here where it's condensed before the Christmas break that the Leafs decide to give one of these goaltenders a non-second half of a back-to-back night in order to ensure that Wool does stay fresh, does stay healthy, and doesn't start to look worn down?
I'm torn on this a little bit, like how to use the goalies. Like part of me likes that Stolarz was asked to play 2 hard games in tight succession so they could figure out that he probably can't. And like part of me wants to know with Woll too. Like, can we use you? Are you a guy who can play, or do we is it really like double bubble wrap for these guys? We just need to be very careful.
Can I be honest, man? I'm not as concerned. Well, actually, that's not true. I'm very concerned with the injuries because if you lose these guys, your season is cooked, and they've been the story of the season so far, right? Like you guys, I think I was watching you on the regional broadcast the other night, and you and Kipper both picked Marner as the player of the year so far for the Leafs. And I was like, I wanted to be there. It's like sometimes you scream at the television like you're a part of it. You've heard that line of like when you listen to podcasts, it's the closest thing that you'll ever have to like talking to ghosts.
Yeah.
And that was me watching you and Kipper pick Marner. I was like, it's Stolarz. Stolarz has been the season for them so far. But if you want to take it a step further, it's like, it's the goaltenders. The goaltenders have been the story for them so far.
That's it. So to me, they asked, pick their MVP. Yeah. And to me, the goalies can't be your MVP. So, and
fair enough.
They almost, what's that?
I said, fair enough. Like I understood the logic. I still think it was Stolarz, but where I was going with this is like, I'm afraid of the injuries, but I also am not more concerned, but equally concerned with the idea that 2 guys that have never had even a 45 game workload, right? Like a half season workload start to wear down as the season goes on. Like you've always heard in the term, obviously sophomore slump, you hear about, rookie players hitting the rookie wall. And that's because they're not used to what it is in terms of the wear and tear of a season.
It's a lot.
Yeah. And so for both of these goaltenders, even if they're able to stay healthy, what I want them to be is looking fresh and spry and snapping around the net because both guys are super athletic. And I want to be able to see them use that size and athleticism when the games count the most.
There's 51 games or 50 games left or something in that window, I think. Yep. How many games does a goalie not name Stolarz or Woll play of the remaining? Have they played 29? Is that right? So what's that leave them? Oh God.
50, they only had 29. God,
53.
This is a depressing question to me because I love doing the show, but it is such a weight. And so for you to be like, hey, you've only done 29 of them. I'm like, no. It has to be.
Okay. That was 30. They played 30.
Okay.
So,
even getting that
52.
ballpark is tough. Yeah. I would say still I'm standing on my belief that Matt Murray will get a game or 2 at some point this season. Like, I think that it has been somewhat implied organizationally that he will get an opportunity. And so, I think Hildeby is up purely because of the injury or the tweak that happened to Matt Murray, and that Murray at some point will get a look, and that these guys are not going to maintain their health the entire way through. So I'll set it
20 of 53.
What?
20 of 52 games for a third string goalie?
No, that's too many. I think that'll be too many, but we've already got 2 Hildeby starts. Yeah, I think it's 2 because 2 starts for Hildeby, a win and a loss. He's going to play tomorrow night, so that's 3. And then I'll say that there's only on the entire season 8 starts total from the backups or the third.
That would be incredible. The Stolarz news is apparently not bad.
No, it's not. He's okay,
but it is a little disconcerting that he felt something was like, this is the end. They were like, don't go back in.
Well, again, when you score 2 goals a night and you're like, you're not winning the expected goals for with regularity, you're leaning on your goaltending. Like that's what this team's identity is. They're turning into the Boston Bruins.
Matthews is going to get better. They're going to trade for a third line center. There's more from Domi still to come. Their offense is going to be okay, but they're probably the 10th best offense and not the 5th best.
I thought I was going to will Domi into a big point to tie the game when he was on the ice late. I was just thinking before his shift, this would be a monumental moment for Max Domi to come through and make a play. Yeah. And he came out on the ice and I went, here we go. This is it. He actually got possession of the puck and then nothing happened. And it just bounced out of the zone. I went, it's your season so far.
That should be a stat for the year.
Just continue.
Nothing happened touches.
The nothing happened again. The nothing happened again.
Connor Dewar almost shot one in tonight.
Yeah, I was going to say, we got to go over the cross check, whether or not this is a suspension, because Dewar ate a cross check right to the face. And
That was up there in like, what are you doing moments from the year? What was this?
I don't really know. Like, but when I look at it from that angle, I'm like, that's got to be games.
It's well, you think of Domi Matthews on Darlene.
Yeah.
Is kind of like maybe it's not quite that, but it reminds me of like a guy who isn't often a tough guy, like Berggren. It's like, you're not experienced in like, what do you do here? And just like, I don't think it's true, but it said that baby scorpions, like, or little ones, when they release their venom, they can't like do a little bit of it. It's just like all they have the first time or two. And it's like Berggren. It's like the first time he ever tried to be a tough guy. He was like, murder? We do murder, right? First button is murder.
Yeah. I thought that might have ridden up, but I don't think it did. Looking at it now multiple times, and
if it didn't, he can't play the next game. You can't do that.
That's 3 games.
You can't do that.
Yeah, that is
very illegal.
How tough is Connor Dewar though? Like,
I actually like that point by you. You're like, he didn't even look back to see who did it. He was like, well, that happens sometimes.
Didn't grab his face, didn't make like a real hard signal to the official. Like, he's just laying there like, yeah, that'll happen sometimes, I guess. Like, you get
it's a tough game up here.
Face. Doesn't yelp, like, he just eats it.
Just took a sip of water and said, let me know when I'm up again.
Yeah, he was just totally fine. Yeah, Connor Dewar, this is part of the reason why I think people love him, is that he is just tough. He is built different. He does have that, like, northern Manitoba to him, and that was exemplified there. Like,
if the entire Leafs had a Royal Rumble, it wouldn't be fully shocking if like there's a few guys left and you're like, he's still in there, eh?
Oh, he would still be in there. I would be betting him as a live dog, being like, he'll be around late, and
100-1 odds or something.
I'm gonna trust the gas tank. All right, any other major talking points from this game, or you want to just do little bullet points?
No, that's all.
Okay, only little bullet point for me. Mitch Marner, you score every single time shooting low blocker on breakaways. It's like become like Matt Sundin, where he goes to the backhand. Matt Sundin is going to go to the backhand. Mitch Marner, I want to see you just shoot it low blocker. It didn't look like maybe he had the best angle for it, because he does wait a little bit to get in tight. And he tries to go.
He can create that. He can skate out to that right-hand side where he shoots it from.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, what did you think of the move? Because he almost gets it, but I was like, shoot it. Like, just do your thing. Do your goal scoring thing.
I actually don't like forehand 5-hole on the ice. You see guys 5-hole goalies is typically a backhand because the goalies think they're trying to get over to that blocker side above their pad. You're not. This actually almost goes in. I'm not saying this is a bad move, but I don't typically love forehand on ice 5-hole, so it didn't love it. I'm with you. Shoot that thing over the pad, low blocker.
We've talked a lot about Max Pacioretty having to pay the piper in terms of soon there will be a fight. Tonight he has a knee-on-knee penalty. Did you think it was overly dirty?
Let's take you here. Let's get a review here. Is this the clip? Yeah. Not really.
Yeah. I thought they called it correctly.
Yeah, like it's a penalty, but it's more of a trip, really.
Mm-hmm. I just think he's flying and he's trying to make a hit, and he doesn't, like, to me, he doesn't stick the knee out. It's just there. Like, he doesn't change. It's
also like this is in his head now. Like, he gets locked in on hits. And I've talked to Kip before about how mentally, when you're like, I'm going to crush this guy, and you've already, locked in on target, it's tough to get out of the way. It happens sometimes. So no, not too bad.
Yeah, to me, whenever there's like a bad kneeing penalty, it's, do I think that you stuck the knee out because you didn't want to let the guy go by you without feeling any like physical contact? And to me, it's like he maintains the same line with the body. He's just an older guy who he likes to do that like hit where he's like, he leans in with up top. This is the way that he did the other night, where it's like all upper body shove kind of hit.
Flying Superman.
Yeah. And that's just what he's going for there. And he misses DeBrincat and he ends up getting him a little bit with the knee. But then, he gets mugged. And I went, oh, is it finally happening? Is this going to go down? But he just kind of.
He actually has a few, like in his, I think he's fought a half dozen times at least in the league. So
yeah, I was surprised. They said the number of fights that he had during the broadcast. I wish I wrote it down, but yeah, I was shocked to hear that it was that high, because I really didn't think about him as, that kind of a player. Little bullet point again from the night. I don't know if we have it, but when Wold made that save on Tarasenko, that was just gorgeous, like just so pretty.
Yeah, getting across post to post like that. I gotta say, Luke doing the video clips here. Is it with Nick? Is that right?
Yeah.
This is fantastic work.
I mean, he's crushing it. Luke
on demand, incredible work here,
brother. Luke is called the leader of the A team. So
this is.
yeah,
I mean, I haven't mentioned a thing that hasn't immediately been on the screen.
I'm telling you, bro, Swad Dog this year has absolutely stepped up his game. And every once in a while, and this is the thing about Luke, he cares so much that even sometimes when it's like not immediate, he's kind of like in a full panic as though like we are going to beat him with a switch if he doesn't do well. It's like he's done so well. And we've never criticized like his work. It's just like continues to be great. But he has like the urgency of someone who it's as though he's made like he's on his last leg, you know? That's the way he acts. The way he carries himself is like, oh my God, if I make one mistake, I'm out of here. This will be it for me. It's like, no,
we got a ton out of that game for a game that just kind of happened and then they lost.
Yeah. No, really great work by him. Last 2 bullet points, then we'll let you get out of here. One is just keep doing early 2000s music for Hockey Night in Canada as all of the intros. Like sometimes they try to get.
I missed the intro. What was it?
It was Red Hot Chili Peppers, Can't Stop, and they had Chad Smith, the drummer, talking about like his love for Detroit and his thoughts on a goaltender, and it's the Can't Stop Addicted to the shit. And I was like, this rules. Like, just
you guys were way too horned up about Creed the other day.
That was awesome. It was awesome.
It was so awesome. It was definitely awesome.
Good. No, don't say we were too horned up for Creed. We were properly horned up for Creed. We were
like ironic horned up. It's like we wear mustaches now because our generation, you know, it's like
I'm telling you, I know that there is like some tongue in cheek to Creed because we all. Here's the thing about that kind of music. When it was out, it was in our era, and if you were a hardcore fan of it, it was pretty corny, right?
Corny as hell.
Yes, but everybody did like it.
There's really good.
I never once heard "This Is How You Remind Me" by Nickelback in my entire life and thought this song sucks.
You're at a bar just pretending to hate it with everyone.
That's what I'm saying. My whole life, I pretended to hate these songs where I was like, I hate it. I'm only into punk and hip hop. I'm cool, you know. Like I like metal. What kind of metal do you like? Oh yeah, I like thrash metal. I'm pretty hardcore. Meanwhile, like With Arms Wide Open comes on, and I'm just like, yes, you know, like it speaks to me.
It's open to Stained next week. Is that
dude? I would be so down. Stained would be great. It's been a while since the Leafs scored a goal, so
that's a jam. I might have to listen to that.
Yeah, exactly. That would be a good one. Last thing is not related to this game. Luke, were you able to get that Oilers kid? Look at this kid giving it to Jack Eichel after a penalty. Did you see this?
No.
Okay, so Jack Eichel, we probably don't have the penalty, but once he sits down, this kid just starts absolutely giving it to him.
Let him know.
I love this kid, but he keeps going. Like his dad eventually has to give him like the "Hey son, like shut it down," gives him like the wave off. But to me, this is what makes this sport great: is like the passion of like young kids learning the game. I loved this. I absolutely.
That guy's going to be producing his version of Real Kipper and Bourne in like 15
There's
years.
actually another clip of him doing it too. Like there's a secondary one where again, his dad has to be like, he gives him the like, please stop, because he's just going so hard, screaming at him during the game. Anyway,
you're not supposed to know those words at that age, son. You're making me look bad.
I just love it. I'm like, that to me is everything. Like that's what it's all about. Anyways, Bourne, as always, I love when you come in. I love when you do the show. Thanks for making time for it, buddy. You can follow Justin. Last thing. This book was sent to me by, how do I get this in the shot?
There you go.
This book was sent to me by a listener of the show. He's got a great account. His name is Brian B. Leafs. He does great illustrations. This book is like, the entire thing is oh my God, I'm so terrible at this. Like I would never be a good teacher. The entire book is just every game from last season with notes about what happened in the game, but then also like these beautiful corresponding illustrations. Very cool. Yeah, it's fantastic work. The guy does one after every single game. I love it. He's got a great Instagram account at Brian B. Leafs. It's BE Leafs. And yeah, if you want to get a good holiday Christmas gift for somebody that is a big Leaf fan, even though, you know, they didn't win last year, but this guy would do really well if the Leafs did a memorable playoff run.
Yeah.
Like that. But it's a beautiful book. The illustrations are phenomenal. It's well put together. It's beautiful. Like it's a great coffee table book. So
you should have to follow Jake B. Leafs as a contrast to great Leafs accounts.
I would say Jake B. Leafs, his tweets, either I'm like, this is a great tweet, like, wow, what a good job by you. I wish I could tweet like this. or I'm like, this is the dumbest take that I've ever seen. The amount of times I've
It's
muted
baseball. There's only two true outcomes on Twitter.
the amount of times I've had to put
strikeouts.
Jake B. Leafs in mute jail is like in the tens. I have to like mute him and then be away from it for like I don't know 3 weeks before that I can return and just give him be like, okay, fine, I'm back in on this. I'll
Strikeouts and homers, baby. Keep
I
swinging.
know, absolutely good stuff. But yeah, Brian B. Leafs, go grab his book. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at JD Bunkis, at Justin Bourne, or sorry, at JT Bourne. Yeah. And subscribe to the show. You can listen to Justin, obviously, on Real Kipper and Bourne, which everybody absolutely does that probably watches the show. And we will see you. I'm off tomorrow. The show is off tomorrow. So we're back, Sammy and I, on Wednesday. So we'll see you then.